This is Just the News, a 10-minute packet where we put together all the information of everything that's happened in the country just for you. There's no opinion, there's no outrage, there's only double verified facts. Let's get straight to it. One day after activist Stan Swamy's death, a fresh report by an American forensic agency, Arsenal Consulting, claims that incriminating evidence was planted on the computers of one of the accused in the Bhima Koregaon case, a lawyer called Surendra Gadling. Now remember, 16 people were accused in that case. Stan Swamy was one of them. This report says Surendra Gadling's computer was compromised or hacked into 20 months before he was arrested, and emails were used to hack into his computer. Now the report points out that others, including Stan Swamy, were CC'd on that email, so there is a possibility that Stan Swamy's computer was also compromised. According to the Washington Post and NDTV, Arsenal Consulting is a Massachusetts-based digital forensics firm that's examined the electronic copies of the computers of two of the activists who are accused in this case, Surendra Gadling and Rona Wilson, at the request of their defense lawyers. Now, this is the third of a series of reports that have been brought out by this one forensics firm. The previous two have been placed before the court. Now, this report says that an unidentified attacker used malicious software to infiltrate the two computers and deposit dozens of files into hidden folders on these devices. It also says that investigators later used these dozens of files as incriminating evidence to link the activists to banned Maoist groups. Now, the National Investigating Agency, or the NIA, claimed that Stan Swamy and 15 others instigated the Bhima Koregaon riot in Maharashtra 3 years ago, when lakhs of Dalits had gathered to commemorate a historic battle. Now, all 16 of them, of which Stan Swamy was the oldest, were arrested and charged with terrorism under the UAPA Act, which enables prolonged detention without questioning. The Delhi High Court has slammed Twitter India, saying it cannot take as long as it wants in this country for appointing a grievance officer. The court has given Twitter time till Thursday to decide when it will appoint its India-based officer. The High Court asked Twitter why it has not appointed a grievance officer after the resignation of Dharmendra Chatur came in on the 21st of June. When the lawyer representing Twitter asked for a day to get in touch with the Twitter headquarters in the United States, the judge said, "You better come up with a clear response or you will be in trouble," posting the next hearing for Thursday. Remember, the new IT rules by the Government of India require all social media platforms to appoint India-based grievance officers. The CBSE has come out with a plan to bifurcate exams into 2 sessions, with the board conducting exams at the end of each term. Now, this, I must remind you, is for the next academic year. So, thankfully, this time the CBSE is planning well in advance. A notification issued on Monday, the board said that it also announced the syllabus for the year will be rationalized based on the lines of what it has done in the last academic year, when the syllabus was reduced by 30%. The rationalized syllabus will be split into 2 halves for those 2 terms. Term 1 examinations will be held in November-December 2021 with multiple choice questions, and Term 2 examination will be held in March-April 2022 at exam centers fixed by the board. The Supreme Court today said it has to take some action against frivolous petitions when it refused to entertain a PIL that sought a probe by the NIA into the Congress Toolkit. Now, basically, there was a public interest litigation placed before the Supreme Court asking it to instruct the National Investigating Agency to investigate the Congress Toolkit. The court said if the petitioner doesn't like the toolkit, then don't look at it. Ignore it. It's propaganda by a political party. Expressing displeasure over such a petition, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud said such frivolous petitions cannot be heard. The time has come that the Supreme Court does something about these petitions, he added. 12 BJP MLAs have been suspended from Maharashtra Assembly for 1 year. This comes after the state government accused them of misbehaving with the presiding officer in the Speaker's chamber on Monday. Among the 12 BJP MLAs who were suspended are Ashish Shelar and Ram Satpute. The resolution was passed to suspend the 12 MLAs for 1 year for abusing and manhandling the Speaker in his chair. Of course, this will deal a severe blow to the BJP and its chances of forming a government or its power in the state. Farm organizations protesting against the farm laws outside of Delhi plan to increase their protest during the upcoming monsoon session. In a meeting held by the Samyukta Kisan Morcha, which is the umbrella organization for all of these farm organizations, on Sunday, a series of events have been proposed to take forward the protest during the monsoon session that begins on the 19th of July. The organization said that the protests will be carried out on all days until the parliament session ends. Remember, the farmers began protesting last year. They've been camping outside of the borders of Delhi now for more than 6 months, and their demand is that the three laws be repealed completely. India has reported 34,703 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours, 553 deaths in the last 24 hours. This is perhaps the first time since April that we've reported deaths that are so low per day in the country, which is good news. Active cases also have declined to less than 5 lakh. It's at 4,64,000 today. There are some pockets that are worrying though. Assam on Tuesday declared a total lockdown in 7 of its districts. It's reported a very high positivity rate. The lockdown will start on Wednesday and remain in place until further notice. Restaurants and malls have been closed. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Tuesday launched a social security scheme and a portal for COVID-affected families. Under this scheme, 50,000 rupees ex gratia will be given to every family that has lost a loved one to COVID, and an additional 2,500 rupees a month will be given if the deceased was the sole breadwinner. On to news coming in right now from the world of business and economy. According to the Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy, the unemployment rate has improved week on week, which is good news. Now, it was 9.3% in the third week of June. It went to 8.7%, and the last number for last week is 7.3%. This is a good thing if the number of unemployed people are coming down. Now, this comes in after several states have started lifting COVID restrictions, which means that a lot of people have been able to go back to work. The highest rate of unemployment in rural areas was in the second week of May, when it was 14.34%. In urban areas, on the 30th of May, we recorded 17.8%. It's good now that we're down to about 7%. Mamata Banerjee has written to the Prime Minister urging him to substantially reduce taxes charged by the central government on petrol and diesel. In the letter she wrote, "It is my earnest request that the taxes charged by the central government on petrol and diesel be substantially reduced to give much relief to common people and also check the overall inflationary trend in the country today." Banerjee noted that the central government had collected what she called a staggering revenue of 3,71,725 crore rupees from oil and petroleum products in this last financial year that ended in March 2021. In the middle of a pandemic, she said, you have collected a staggering amount of money as tax. She said, and I quote, "Over the last 6 years, your government, the government of India's tax collection from oil and petroleum has jumped 370% since 2014-15 due to constant hikes in central excise duty on petroleum products, including cesses, surcharges, and the cost of the common people," end quote. Of course, it must be noted here that while the numbers called out by Mamata Banerjee in her letter are in fact correct, it must also half of the taxes that are collected on petrol and diesel, or less than half, are state government taxes, and there is room to bring that down as well. News coming in right now from across the world. According to Reuters, Israel reported a decrease in the effectiveness of the Pfizer vaccine in preventing infections and symptomatic illnesses of COVID. However, it remained highly effective in preventing serious illnesses. So obviously there are 3 different categories of COVID: is when you're asymptomatic, when you're mildly symptomatic, and when you have a serious illness, which is you need to be admitted into hospital. So Pfizer, according to Reuters, is showing a decreased effectiveness for infections and symptomatic illness, but is still very effective in terms of serious illness. This comes after the Delta variant is surging in the country, and the country has reintroduced restrictions after lifting it briefly. According to Israel's health ministry, the vaccine effectiveness in preventing both infection and symptomatic disease fell to 64% on the 6th of June. At the same time, the vaccine was 93% effective in preventing hospitalization. Germany's health agency has said on Monday that it will lift the ban on travelers from India, also from the UK and 3 other countries hit by the Delta variant of the COVID-19 virus. The Robert Koch Institute has said that India, Nepal, Russia, Portugal and the UK are currently listed on the so-called virus variant countries. They will be reclassified into high incidence areas. The change will then ease the ban on the entry of travelers who are not German residents or citizens from these countries, which means that anyone will be able to travel into Germany provided they observe the quarantine rules and the testing rules. Germany introduced its virus variant country category to stop the new COVID variants from entering their country, but and not spread very deeply on home soil. They have now changed that to high incidence areas. Update now from the world of sports. According to England and Wales Cricket Board, 7 members of the English cricket team, 3 players and 4 staff members have tested positive for COVID. England and Wales Cricket Board said in a statement, and I quote, following RT-PCR tests administered yesterday in Bristol, the England and Wales Cricket Board can confirm that 7 members, 3 players and 4 management team members of England's men's ODI party have tested positive for COVID-19, end quote. The members of the team are now in isolation. Of course, one piece of positive news before we leave you for today. The 18 crore rupees was gathered by crowdfunding in just 1 week for the treatment of an 18-month-old baby boy in Kerala called Muhammad, who suffers from a rare disease of spinal muscular atrophy. The appeal for funds was announced to buy Zolgensma, one of the world's most expensive drugs that had to be procured from overseas. So we hope that little Muhammad is doing well and recovers quickly. Of course, I'm going to now leave you with the quiz for today. We ask you a quiz at the end of every news bulletin to take a look at how carefully you've been paying attention. Now, Mamata Banerjee has written to the Prime Minister asking the Prime Minister to reduce the tax that the central government charges on petrol and diesel. In her letter, she has said that the tax collection of the central government has increased by a certain percentage since 2014-15. What is that percentage? See, it's a little more interesting today. You can, of course, the wonders of the internet is that you can go back and listen to it one more time if you don't remember. Leave us the answer in the comments section. If you are on YouTube, remember to subscribe and like this video as well. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, guys. Good night.